So let's open this ban list thing real quick. Now, before we go through absolutely any of this stuff, because it's literally not worth looking at yet, until we've looked at the actual real change here. We seem to have one very important change that you guys might not notice. So let's just highlight it real quick, the actual change here. We seem to have a no mortal can resist. That's pretty big. I don't know if you know this, but no mortal can resist is a bit of a cunt. So what is the difference here? What have they done to my no mortal can resist? Can be used when your life points are at least 2,000 less than your opponent. Change all monsters in your graveyard. That's the same as before. But it's now 2,000 requirement, boys. 2,000 requirement, Pog. Oh, 2,000 life point. You know those dickheads running Cosmic Cyclone? Ain't gonna no mortal can resist you anymore. They're gone, boys. They're gone. Top 20 skills? Oh, it seems to be the most used fucking skill in the game, followed by another skill that we're gonna talk about in a little bit. Oh, I see. So the best thing about this skill is that decks like, obviously, get out of here. Decks like, I just want to see top decks. Decks like Lightsworn, wherever they are, Lightsworn may actually make it to a tier list. They have potential. No mortal can resist can now no longer just continuously fuck them. And there's like multiple decks in here that can be excited for it. Vendred, they can be happy about it. Not they're going to be able to become tiered again, but they can be happy about it. Orcus to an extent. Fortune Lady is super happy. You can't just kill every, no mortal can resist her. You can't do that anymore. She's always going to come back. You have to banish her. Magnet Warriors are happy about it. Vampires are happy. Subterrors are happy about it. Yet so many decks are pleased by this. A deck that I think might actually have a chance of getting tiered, maybe. Super Heavy Samurai. Super Heavy Samurai are all happy. They're so happy. They're already like a pretty good rogue deck, and now they can't just get graveyarded to death. Their stupid one monster that's... Where is his name? Let's just have a look at it. This thing here, little Sammy over here. You can't just no mortal can resist him. You're gonna have to deal with this normally. Now, the downside of this, alright, because there is a downside to this, chat, alright? You see all this stuff and you're like, wow, all these cool rogue decks, wow, they're gonna pop off now. It's not just rogue decks that are affected by the skill. We've got things like Shiranui that are like, oh, you can now no longer no mortal can resist my Spectral Sword? Oh, I guess I just got stronger, even though I'm currently the best deck in the game. Oh. Yeah. So Shiranui, through the roof, very happy. Crystron, another deck that's probably a little bit happy about it, but they've got another interesting nerf, which we'll talk about a bit later with this stuff. So I'll wait till we go through that stuff to talk about this bit, but yeah, they like to use Graveyard too, so they're happy. Dark Magician, don't use Graveyard. Elementaber, they use the Graveyard, so they kind of a little bit better off. Thunder Dragon, oh my, lol, let's not even talk, we'll talk about that later. Cyber Dragon, they get no mortal can resist it as well with their Graveyard stuff, so they're also a little bit happy because they can't just like remove, you can't just activate like a, I don't know, you can just make those Cyber Dragons in their graveyard, no mortal can resist it, so you can't activate the trap card to banish them and do all that kind of stuff. So Cyber Dragon, if anything, just got a lot stronger considering everything around them got like nerfed, and they didn't receive any kind of nerf. And they got slightly buffed by no mortal can resist being removed, so Cyber Dragon got really strong. Blue Eyes, everything got nerfed around it, so this card deck has a chance of coming back. Also, not to mention, they like can't get no mortal can resist it either, and that's also a bit annoying for Blue Eyes. So Dark Lord, they hate no mortal can resist with passion. It was a deck killer for them, they would just murder them. But to be fair, it was also hard to kind of activate it because Dark Lord can lower their life points a shit ton, but it was a killer skill for them. And the cool thing about Dark Lord is, they can still use No Mortal Can Resist, right? Doing 2000 damage to yourself as Dark Lord isn't a difficult task. It's something you can do pretty easily. So these guys can still use No Mortal Can Resist. So these guys got buffed by Dark Lord, No Mortal Can Resist being removed, and they also can, like, use it still. So it's an interesting thought that this deck might make a comeback purely because that skill got nerfed, and they can still use it if they want to. Alright, Grit. So as I showed just then from the KC Cup stats, Grit was the second most used skill in KC Cup. Grit is one of those skills that I completely despise the existence of. I hate it. I fucking hate this thing. It actually just tilts me to see it exist. You've got decks like... Because it's literally only used. The only people that use Grit are turn 2 decks. Are decks that can't handle turn 1 very easily. So they're just like, alright, we'll just hide behind Grit and kill you on our turn. No, what's it? I mean, there you go. Most popular skill for Lunar Light. The OTK irritating deck. Grit. 100%. Absolutely filthy. This dumb little OTK deck can't just hide behind a Grit wall now. You actually have to play the game. Yeah, so very, very good change. Very pleased with the Grit change. Personally, I just prefer Grit to be removed from the game because I feel it's super unhealthy and really dislike it. Thank God Grit is gone. Well, it might not be gone, but it should be basically dead. Turn 2 decks are just, disgusting. Decks should aim, when decks are like created and designed, they should aim to at least be able to like play both going first and second. They can be stronger going a certain way, but they should be designed to both be able to do, both. So it was really lame that Grit existed for decks that just like, Lunar Light, we just OTK you. Yeah, it's disgusting. Alright, next one. Baggy Sleeves. So, another skill that was heavily abused by one particular deck. I don't think many other decks used Baggy Sleeves. The Thunder Dragon used to abuse it a lot because it used to be level 5, so level 5 would mean any of your Thunder Dragons getting killed by battle, or your really irritating hand trap, if that's in here. I assume it'll be in here. Artifact, Viraja, whatever the hell it's called. So when this thing would die, you just draw 2 cards. Same with all the other ones. All these other level 6s, level 5s. Really irritating stuff. Just letting your opponent draw a ridiculous amount of cards just for attacking. Yeah. So really glad this skill is getting nerfed to, what it is getting nerfed to. It's getting nerfed to level 7 or higher. So this means it doesn't really work with Thunder Dragon anymore, outside of like their really big monsters, so they wouldn't really want to use this anyway. And I don't think there's any other decks that used it really. Because most of the time, like when your level 7 or higher monster dies, you're probably just in a really bad position anyway. Because level 7 or higher is like your boss monsters. Alright, I've already talked about No Mortal Can Resist. Transcendent Crystals. Oh boy, am I happy to see this one. One of my most hated decks currently in Duel Links. Yeah, so I hate this deck. I hate decks that encourage the use of more than 20 cards because they're just so ridiculously consistent. This deck actually pisses me off. I hate how like all these cards just seem to do the same goddamn thing. They have like 3 different searches. They've got I hate it. I hate that just every card does the same thing, so they can just, no matter what their starting hand is, they'll pop off. So it's really good to see this Transcendent Crystal nerf, which was basically being used just to send this guy and this guy, I believe, to the grave to let them search for shit. So they can't just do that anymore. They're not allowed to. Transcendent Crystals now makes it so you can't use it for the first 2 turns. So there you go. It does suck that Transcendent Crystals was nerfed in the way it was, because I believe they nerfed it in a way that the people trying to play Crystal Beasts can't really use it anymore, which is ridiculous considering Crystal Beast is already at like an unplayable state, and now they've nerfed the only skill that was actually making them slightly decent. So I think how they nerfed the skill was wrong, but I'm glad it is nerfed because I fucking hate Crystron. Anything to impact their consistency, count me in. I would love to see them just become a 20 card deck so they can stop playing this 30 card bullshit. You can't really talk about this heavy skill change because like we don't know what it is. Because why would Konami give us clarity? It's not like we're just going to have people at DLM search up and do the research to find out what it meant anyway. But you know, hide the data from us anyway, because giving us data on clarity and how the skills work would be too good. Yeah, so I have no idea how heavy starter's going to be like impacted. We don't really know the changes. So yeah. Plus, not a lot of decks were using this anyway. I think some Light Sworn decks were using it to get Judgment Dragon, and some other decks were just using it to get one particular monster. That's probably a good thing that's getting changed, because having skills that like guarantee cards in starting hand is a bit off. Then again, like how they changed Spell Specialist didn't really do all that much. Spell Specialist is still pretty usable, so maybe it's gonna be the same for Heavy Starter. Alright, Fusion Time. And what would they do to this? Can be using your life points to chase by 1,000, return one poly card from deck to your hand to add polarization to your hand. Then you can add one that will follow Elementaber hero. Right, so we already have a skill that does the first effect, that searches for a poly. But now we can add an elemental hero, normal monster, from graveyard to hand. Okay, so this shouldn't be too meta impactful purely because we already have a skill that does the first part of this. So the only thing that's really like new is the elemental hero part. And I don't really think we play elemental heroes like at all. Outside of like Stratos, and Stratos isn't a normal monster, so... Yay, elemental hero players can be excited to search Avian from the graveyard. Can't even add Neos, Pepe hands. Then we got Deck Master Effect Cyber Commander. Cyber Commander buffs, boys. If you have a Cyber Commander on the field, the attack and its warrior says you can control and space 300. In addition, instead of conducting your normal draw, you can add Cyber Commander to your hand. Whoa. Whoa. Dude, top tier skill. This skill is going to replace every skill in the game. No one's going to run anything but Deck Master Effect Cyber Commander. It's actually just the best skill in the game now. Alright. Say it with me, chat, right? Let's go. Cyber-Stein is dead. It's gone. Rejoice. Cyber-Stein is gone. Cyber-Stein is now put to 1, so Cyber-Stein can still be used, and those Aroma Mage decks like to run one of it for the meme. But as for actually being used competitively wise, and being that deck that you occasionally see winning DLM point battles, it's fucking dead. It's gone. You won't see that shit anymore. Not sure why it took so long to reduce it to 1. Like, why has this card been an annoying little menace since the start of the game's like creation? But finally they decided, you know what, maybe we should make it so that you can't just summon a giant egg and make your opponent not be able to use his monster zones on the first turn. Maybe that is a little bit unhealthy. Now, de-synchro. I see someone in chat saying, why did they hit de-synchro? Why would they do that? It's not in any meta-relevant decks. Pretty obvious reason. FTKs are the worst thing in existence. Hey, did you want to have a first turn? No, game ends on your opponent's turn at the first, as soon as the duel starts. These are the worst. Oh, but it nerfs decks like Zushin and memes. Here's a thought, guys. Actually, the person who has to play against the Zushin, if it does combo off, is gonna feel like arsehole. Same with those Catapult Turtle meme decks and all those other really stupid FTKs that people would play, all using 3 copies of de-synchro. Turns out FTKs are actually horrendous. So meme decks that use things like Catapult Turtle are just FTKs. They're not memes, they're your opponent wanting to kill himself. So de-synchro removed, fantastic. Elementaber Mallow. So this is a very interesting change because it's... If we look at Elementaber right now, as you can see from all these deck lists, there is only ever 1 copy of Mallow anyway. People only run 1 copy of Mallow. But they also run 1 copy of Purgatrio, and because that is also on the limited to 1 list, you can't play them together. You can either play Cocytus or you can play Mallow. You can't play them both. So basically, Mallow is getting removed or Cocytus is getting removed from Elementaber. So the most likely change there is Mallow gets removed and people keep Cocytus. So what does that mean for the deck? Well, it basically means that people can't search for Mallow with Palace, and then summon Alistair and fusion summon Purgatrio. So that's basically the only like combo it removes, because obviously the Elementabers themselves can just change their type in the graveyard anyway, so even if you just summon like a Molehu, send one of these other cards to the graveyard, you can just change it to fire and you can go back to what your normal day-to-day routine. Don't have to worry about this card at all. It just means they have to be like a little bit slower, I guess. They're like always going to be searching for Molehu now. They're like, they never can search for this. Their turn 1 play generally isn't going to be opening an Alistair into an instant Purgatrio. It's always going to be like a Molehu into something else. So they can't really just kind of dick you on their first turn. These changes, so they finally decided we're going to try and touch Dark Magician by nerfing Magician of Dark Illusion. Now, I don't really want to say it, but what the fuck is this for a nerf? So let's have a look at Dark Magician lists. I thank God the stats are up for this. So this deck didn't get touched, but I don't know what the fuck this deck is. This deck list didn't get hit at all. This deck list didn't get hit at all. I'll find a deck list that got hit, don't you worry, I'll find one. This one didn't get touched at all. Yeah, I just don't see any Dark Magician decks that seem to have gotten hit by this. They've basically made it so that you can't play Magician of Dark Illusion and Enemy Controller or Treacherous Trap Hole. You can only run like one copy of it at most. But it's honestly... Dark Magician don't give a fuck. They're still going to be top tier, they're still going to be played, nothing's really different there. If anything, Dark Magician might even go up in popularity because now there's no Mortal Can Resist, all those graveyard decks are going to come out that are super excited to use the graveyard, and they're going to get hit by Night End Sorcerers and Kaikus. So these kind of cards are really good at dealing with some of those graveyard heavy decks that are like so reliant on the graveyard. And this might be one of the only decks that's like really good at countering them now. So Dark Magician, if anything, might have gotten a little bit better, maybe. I guess they can't use No Mortal Can Resist anymore, so they did get worse, but they might get better in terms of play rate, just because people want to have a way to deal with graveyard, and Dark Magician is a good way of dealing with it. So next, Vion. Vion, freed from the ban list at last. After so long, it was freed from the ban list. And it's back on there. Why is Vion back on the ban list? Let's have a look. Here we go. So, a lot of hero decks like to do this thing called sitting behind Grit, which is now gone. Grit is fucked. And then they just Hatronade their opponent and OTK them with the fantastic Vion Mask Change bullshit. There's your fucking, Yankee. Hit them directly, kill their monsters. Legit. Absolutely aids. Now, just like Blackwing, which used to also run Hatronade, it can no longer be run. So decks like this, they were just like, hey, I'm going to just OTK you every turn, every second turn, so that whenever we go second, we just OTK you, whenever we go first, we can just pass, kill you when we get our turn back to come back around. They can't do that anymore. Hatronade is gone, Grid is gone, they're going to actually have to try to play the game properly, using proper back row, not just sitting behind, even though they can't use the OP back row either. They can't use Treacherous or like Econs or anything like that. So the main hit for this is clearly they don't like Hatronade. Konami's made it pretty clear they don't like decks using Hatronade, which is why Blackwing received their nerf and why heroes are getting a nerf, because it just means you can't use Hatronade. Next we have Crystron and Ryan. Now this again is very similar to the Dark Magician nerf, and honestly doesn't mean a whole lot. Here's the new card that's getting put on the list, getting put to 2. So basically, the reason this card's getting put to 2, very similar to Dark Magician, is they don't want them running good back row like Econ. Econ can't be run, Treacherous Trap Hole can't be run, Legacy Clash can't be run. Just, those strong back row cards who no longer can be run. So it's like a minor slap on the wrist, which is fine considering they're already getting a Transcendent Crystal nerf. So it does mean the deck might get just a little bit weaker. They probably didn't deserve like a full hard ban purely because they're already getting their main skill nerfed. It just means that like there's no need to give them like a hard like this is limited to 1 or something, because they didn't need that yet. The Transcendent Crystal might be enough to make the deck ridiculously weaker anyway. Then we have the absolutely gross nerf of... We're going to talk about 3 of these at once right here. We've got Thunder Dragon Dark, Gold Sark, and Charge of the Light Brigade. Konami just said, lol, here's your Thunder Dragon deck list. You can't play... you can't play 3 copies of your main boss with Gold Sark... Not your main boss, one of your main Thunder Dragons with Gold Sark and with Charge of the Light Brigade. And considering you would use Gold Sark to banish this guy anyway, it's like removed that combo in particular, which is like odd. Consistency of this deck got absolutely shafted. They took the 2 most used skills, Grit and the Heavy Starter, not Heavy Starter, Grit and Baggy Sleeves, and they took them, they removed them from the game, and they also said, lol, you can't use Charge of the Light Brigade, you can't use Gold Sark if you want to play one of your main monsters. So Thunder Dragon, will it be playable? Playable, probably. Top tier anymore? Probably not. I don't know. It's gonna be pretty hard for this deck to recover from that in terms of like actually being top tier. The other impacts of Gold Sark though, hang on, we might as well go through them while we're here. The other impacts of the Gold Sark is decks like Shiranui would run Gold Sark as well. I want to see if it tells us, might not tell us on here or not. Yeah, it says there's no decks on the tier list, even though we can see them. You know, there are things like, you know, Shiranui could use it, mostly just Shiranui. So Shiranui no longer can play Gold Sark either, because it coincides with their Squire, and they can only play 3 Squire now, which is the next part of the ban let's talk about too, is Squire, of course. So a lot of Shiranui decks used to run Shiranui Light Swan as well. A lot of people would try that out. It wasn't like a top tier meta thing or something, but it was something people would do. They can no longer do that. These 2 cards can't be played together, so Shiranui can't use Light Swan cards, and Shiranui can't use Cosmic Cyclones anymore, because that's also on the ban list. I don't think either of those nerfs are relevant enough to kill the deck in the slightest. If anything, because of the no mortal can resist nerf, Shiranui is probably going to go to like tier 0 or something. I guess we do like a brief summary of like everything. So in full summary of tier list and stuff, basically Shiranui probably going to be the best deck in the game, I imagine. They didn't receive much nerfs at all. They got Cosmic Cyclone taken away from them, but they can just replace that with other background removal if they even can be bothered. They're mostly using it to activate no mortal can resist anyway, so they don't give a shit. They're pretty happy. They barely used the other cards anyway, like Gold Sark or whatever. Top tier ones didn't anyway, so Shiranui probably going to be tier 0. Crystron received a pretty harsh skill nerf. They also got like a slight mini nerf, so they can't use things like Econ or like the powerful back row. But I don't particularly think they're gonna be like trash or anything. They'd probably just go down to like tier 3 maybe, if like the other skill variant isn't that good, like the Sea Stealth attack one. I don't know how strong that is. I haven't seen much play of it, so yeah. Dark Magician, basically didn't receive a nerf. They're like, hey, you can't use Treacherous anymore. Yeah, so this deck, it's going to stay where it is or go higher. Nothing's happened to it. Like, probably the worst thing that's happened to it is it can no longer use No Mortal Can Resist. So maybe if Graveyard decks go completely out of control, it probably won't care anyway, because it has ways to interact with Graveyard anyway, thanks to its like that little tuner that banishes it from the grave, and the thing that stops your opponent banishing, like Kaiku. Yeah. Elementaber, they can no longer OTK, or like they can, but like it's not something that they have to play slower. They can't just Purgatrio on their first turn kill you, because it's really hard for them to get an Elementaber in the grave to change to fire, which is what they need to do for Purgatrio. It's really hard to do that and have Invocation and Alistair and all that shit already set up. They can't just search for their fire monster like they were before, summon Alistair and use it in hand, all that kind of stuff. So it's harder for them to do what they were doing. It's still possible, but it's just going to be a bit slower. So it's a good change, but I don't think it's going to impact it that much. It'll probably still stay where it is. Heroes, no longer going to be an OTK bullshit. They can't use Hatronade. Hatronade has been gutted from them. So that's basically the main change to that. Also, they can't use Grit anymore. So the Hatronade Grit versions of Masked Heroes can't be doing that shit anymore. Similar to when Black Wings used to do it. Konami hates that shit. They took it away. So hero is gonna have to use pro back row like Fiendish Chain and shit. Can't use things like Tretch, but that's right. Thunder Dragon, lol. Blackwing and Cyber Dragon. If anything, they had no changes to the middle. Cyber Dragon got buffed slightly because no Bulldog and Resist is gone, so Cyber Dragon might go up, Blackwing might go up. Yeah, these decks are pretty fucking happy right now. Yeah. And there's also a lot of random decks like Light Sworn and Lunar Light, and like Lunar Light's kind of dead because Grit's gone as well, so. But things like Light Sworn, Super Heavy Samurai, all those like heavy graveyard decks that were basically killed because no Bulldog and Resist existed, may end up being tiered. There's a chance that Super Heavy Samurai might go from rogues being playable, and Light Sworn have a very good chance of going into the like tier list section. But yeah, that's it, boys. That's the changes.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.